Good evening, Lautaro. Good evening, every TrendLizard YouTube follower out there. I hope you all having a wonderful evening. Lautaro, thank you for sending me the email with a few tickers you wanted me to take a look at. We're going to take a look at three things for you, all very interesting, all very different from one another. We're going to start with ARGT, Argentina ETF from Global X. Then we're going to take a look at BSAC, which is Banco Santiago. And then we're going to close it up with KSA, which is the Saudi Arabia ETF, I believe, from iShares. So let us get started. ARGT has been around since 2011, giving us several different swings back and forth. Just big moves, not a ton of direction overall. Obviously, it's had a lovely run off of the 2020 low to the upside, has stalled since 2021. But largely, most of its life has been spent moving sideways. So the initial thought to me is that this is counter-trend price action. Who knows exactly how to label it? I don't think there's much benefit in spending too much time in it. I think what we can say with some clarity is that the pullback off the 2018 high into the 2020 low is a clear ABC move. So the question becomes, is the advance off the 2020 low the start of some larger uptrend that will continue above the current all-time high from there in trendy fashion, or is this more just back and forth swings that'll break down from here? So that is the question we are seeking to answer. And to do that, we would need to zoom in on the action off the 2020 low. Here is that action. Now, in order for us to call this trendy movement, as you know, we have to label it as a big leading diagonal. That's because wave 1's high would overlap with wave 4's low over here. So still possible. Certainly, we can call this a leading diagonal. We'd also have to call wave 4 a triangle. But it works, and it does take a general 5-wave form. Wave 3 is not the smallest. Everything generally works. You don't normally see leading diagonals this big, but I don't think it's something that we would want to get caught up on, especially when you look at the nature of the pullback off of that 2021 high. When you look at that move there, no matter how you want to label it internally, on a larger time frame, looks like an ABC move. It looks pretty clear that this is an ABC move. Now, if it can move above 33.50, that would be additional proof that this is one big counter trend move, as it looks like it is anyway, and that would be a bullish thing. And I think ultimately you can expect another large advance, however that looks, to the upside once this correction completes. So that would be a bullish thing. And I think overall, this does look bullish, again, because this looks like counter trend price action to the downside off of the 2021 high. So let's go ahead and zoom in again. This takes a closer look at that pullback. And again, you can see how counter trend this move looks. ABC down, a retest of that high, and then you get a sharper, cleaner 5-wave move to the downside here that looks like an ending C wave. Now we have this recovery to the upside here. Basically what it boils down to is this. If this pullback is over, this large ABC move, it's going to stay above 29 at all times. So that would be a stop level if you wanted to own this guy. A move above 33.50 would bolster the bullish case that a low is already in, because that would be a 61.8% retracement of this down leg here. So that would eliminate any possibility that this is the first leg of a larger descent. So those are the two levels I'm watching. It looks bullish. Again, it has that ABC down move. I think you can be bullish on this guy as long as it's trading above 29. Let's go ahead and zoom in one more time and just look at this recovery effort. Pretty hard to get too much detail out of this. It's not a heavily traded ETF. It certainly could be a start of a 5-wave move. It doesn't look like an apparent 5-wave move at this point. But again, I wouldn't get too hung up with the very small near-term details here. As long as it stays above 29, I think the bullish potential is there. If at any point it moves below that level, it's going to mean that this larger counter-trend down move is not yet over, and that opens up the door for a move deeper into the yellow area before it's said and done. So that's what we would be looking at with that guy. So let us shift now to BSAC, Banco Santiago. This one has a much more standard Elliott Wave pattern. It was incepted back in mid-90s, up and down. From there, it found a low in 1998 and gave us a very clear 5-wave move to the upside into the 2010 high. Since then, it went sideways, a large ABC move. Found support largely at a 61.8% retracement of this big 5-wave up move. So all those things sound bullish. So the question on this guy becomes, is this the resumption of the uptrend, the action that we're seeing off of the 2020 low, or is it not? So that's the question we have to answer. Let's go ahead and zoom in and take a look. Here is that price action off the 2020 low. Nothing jumps out on this guy. that looks super obvious. It's a very difficult move to label, which right away is a warning sign to me. Generally, trendy moves are pretty easy to label. This one doesn't look terribly easy to label, and that concerns me. Let's give it a couple shots and see what we can come up with. One possibility would be that this is a large leading diagonal. We would have to be a leading diagonal because wave 1's high overlaps with wave 4's low. Problem is it doesn't diagonal, and it just does not look terribly pretty. This leading diagonal would also have a leading diagonal for wave 1, and each down leg would retrace a little bit more than 61.8% in both instances, yet find support ultimately and turn higher from there. So I guess it's not out of the question. It's just hard to say, yeah, I certainly want to put all my money on this guy and just bank on this being the start of a really funky, trendy up move. Doesn't look great. If this guy moves below 15 at any point, that would negate this possibility, and it would be really hard to call this anything other than counter trend upside movement. A move below 17 would be an early warning because that would be a significant enough retracement of this up leg here to make you wonder, what are we doing here? If this larger move off of the 2021 high is going to continue, I think you'd have to throw out the possibility that this is trendy. Let's try again. Let's try a different way. This would be another possibility. 1, 2, and then a smaller first and second wave. Again, really hard to like it. I mean, it seems like we're just kind of trying to force a trendy labeling on this guy, but it boils down to the same thing. A move below 17 would be an early warning sign. A move below 15 would be kind of the death strike on this guy and would just remove any potential whatsoever of calling this trendy. If you wanted to be bullish, I'd do it against 17. I wouldn't risk much more than that. But for me, I don't love it. It just doesn't look trendy. I think something more realistic would be to call this an ABC up leg. Maybe we have a B wave down and maybe we're getting a C wave up. That creates some potential. That gives you some upside potential for wave C to move above this 2021 high in a larger counter trend move. This is how you could be bullish, but again, then you're now trading a counter trend move. So I think that's more difficult to do, or at least to do aggressively. You can do it, but if you're going to be bullish, I'd do it against 17, and I wouldn't risk any more than that. So let's zoom way far back out again and look at the implications of that. The implication is that this would be a completed 5 wave. Maybe this entire 3 wave down move is wave A. We're in a larger wave B, and then a C wave down to come that would retest that 2020 low at some point. That would have to be the expectation based on the untrendy look of this action to the upside here. So there is that one. Let us move on to the last one here. It is KSA, the iShares Saudi Arabia capped ETF. So this guy's been around since 2015. Broke down into the 2016 low. Gave us something that looks trendy, largely to the upside, and then a resetting ABC pullback off of that 2019 high. So basically, who knows what happened before this? What we know is it looks like we've been getting trendy upside movement, counter trend downside movement. That's all good. Basically, all we can care about and really all we can control at this point, can't really control it, obviously, but all that we can really care about is what's gone on off of this 2020 low. So looks trendy, looks very trendy, looks sharp. Where are we in this trendy move? Are we at a high? Let's go ahead and zoom in and take a look. Here is that move off the 2020 low. Now, a move that is this sharp, there's going to be different ways to label it. I can post this as if it's the one and only. I'm sure there's other ways to label it. I guess the point is, the potential is there that this 5-wave up move completed. As you can see, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, every up leg has a nice 5-wave form. This works. This is the most obvious labeling that jumps out to me because while there haven't really been any true pullbacks, if anything has happened to the downside, it's been this move and this move. So they slot nicely as a second and a fourth wave. So you have this potentially completed 5th wave advance. Now, if you get a retracement that moves more below 4350, that would be more than a 61.8% retracement of this final up leg. At no point has any up leg been retraced by more than 61.8%. So I think that would be a pretty respectable clue that we are, in fact, getting a larger pullback. If a larger pullback is happening, a retracement of this guy would point down to this yellow area here, basically ranging from about 31.75 up to about 39 ballpark. So you'd be looking for a move down into this area before price turns higher again. Obviously, you would be looking for a counter trend move to the downside to find support here, and then to get some trendy upside movement. Then it becomes a buying opportunity. Let's go ahead and zoom in and just look at this action off of the 2022 high. It looks trendy to the downside. And then we've had a bounce over the last couple weeks. Looks more like counter trend movement. So I think the setup supports in more than one way the formation of a larger pullback. So I think as long as that is happening, I think you have to respect lower prices in the near term. If you get a strong move above 48.50, then you can look at the possibility that it's just going to continue higher. But with this near-term action that we're seeing here, I think the expectation would be for at least one more down leg, something that moves down into this yellow area, ideally the formation of a larger A, B, C wave move, and all of that would be confirmed with a move below 45, or at least it would confirm the setup for lower prices in the near-term time frame. So that is what I am looking at, Lau Taro. I would say you would wait for a larger pullback here before you do anything, because why would you want to buy something that's potentially at a multi-month high and exhibiting trendy downside movement, as you can see here. So I hope that is helpful. As always, I appreciate your takes and would love to hear if I am lining up with your Elliott Wave analysis on these guys. Otherwise, have yourself a wonderful week, and we will talk to you very soon. Take care.